Hey folks, today's hot topic is Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban and his recent speech at the Balvanyos Free University on July 27th. Orban's remarks have once again caused a stir, particularly his praise for the Russian economy amidst the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now let's break it down. Orban began by expressing concern about the shifting global power dynamics, specifically highlighting the growing influence of Asia. He criticized the European Union for what he sees as excessive alignment with the United States, advocating instead for a more independent Europe. According to Orban, the EU should focus on its own economic and defense initiatives rather than relying on the US. But here's where things get even more controversial. Orban openly criticized the West's handling of the Ukraine conflict. He accused the US of being involved in the Nord Stream pipeline explosions and questioned the overall Western approach to Russia. In a move that shocked many, he praised Russia's economic resilience and expressed doubt about Ukraine's chances of joining NATO or the EU. These statements didn't sit well with his European partners. Many accuse Orban of undermining Western unity and essentially siding with Russia. His refusal to support EU sanctions on Moscow and opposition to military aid for Ukraine have only strained relations further. Now, switching gears to Orban's diplomatic efforts. He's been on a sort of diplomatic tour, visiting key players like Kyiv, Moscow, Beijing and Washington. Orban positions himself as a potential mediator in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But critics argue that he's more focused on boosting his own image and advancing his political group, Patriots for Europe. Orban's views on the conflict are a significant departure from those of his NATO allies. He sees the conflict as regional and fueled by US involvement, advocating for a negotiated settlement. He even suggested that a victory for Donald Trump in the next US presidential election could pave the way for peace talks. This stance has further isolated him from Western partners, who see his close ties with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping as evidence of his pro-Russian leanings. Critics argue that his actions undermine NATO and EU unity and essentially embolden Russia. To wrap things up, Orban's recent diplomatic efforts, including visits to world leaders, have been met with mixed reactions. While he frames these visits as part of his peacemaking mission, critics see them as self-serving and counterproductive to efforts to support Ukraine. His meetings with Putin and Xi in particular have raised eyebrows in Western capitals. Despite facing criticism from his Western partners, Orban remains defiant. He continues to advocate for a more independent European foreign policy and a negotiated settlement in Ukraine. This stance has made him a controversial figure, but also a leading voice for those who share his skepticism of the West's approach to global affairs. And that's the scoop on Viktor Orban's latest controversial speech. What do you think about Orban's remarks and his stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more updates. Until next time, stay informed.